Samuel, there's a lot of things in the investment landscape that are hard to predict, but the aging population across the world and rise of chronic disease seem like structural trends. Does it make for an easy landscape to evaluate and make investments in the healthcare industry? Or is there more to it, to your job of analyzing medical technology, equipment, and supplies in the healthcare space?
It definitely helps to have that supportive backdrop. There's a lot that can still go wrong. Dimensions like getting the product right, as well as getting the marketing right, as well as getting the reimbursement right to get paid for it. There's a constant task of educating clinicians, educating payers, educating healthcare facilities to understand what it is that you're offering, why it's better than something else that they could be doing or not doing, and why you should be getting paid for that.
You mentioned that there's a bunch of different dimensions that you're evaluating on. What drives the superior economic profile? Where are they actually able to capture value?
When we're talking about launching these products or investing in these spaces, we're talking about something that takes easily like a decade in terms of the product design, in terms of the clinical data that they're generating, in terms of setting up the relationships. To get a payback for that, you can't just have it work for a year or two. You're looking for something that can be defendable longer term. And that's one of the areas that's particularly challenging.
Once you've gotten that traction, what do you pay attention to ensure that they retain that moat, that they fend off rivalry?
I'm looking for the credibility that they have with clinicians, the product differences that they have, the ability to defend that product versus followers, and how they can get paid for that. On the other end of the spectrum, there are the incumbents, and they may have a diversified portfolio of products. They may even do things beyond medical devices. They may be selling drugs, they may be selling non-healthcare stuff. There's this life cycle management when it comes to the innovation that they're dealing with, in terms of the cash flows that they're dealing with, and that takes a completely different set of competencies and variables, really.
How do you think about AI influencing the sustainability or durability of product differentiation?
It's going to be really interesting because when we're talking about AI, it's a software. But when we're talking about intervening in people's health, we're usually talking about a product, something tangible, something physical. I don't think AI can replace a physical product. At the end of the day, you need something that physically goes inside and cuts something out or fixes something. I think the most explicit feature of AI in some of the companies I cover involve, for example, Sonova, who have a new product out there that is for hearing care that has an embedded chip that's designed to work with AI software so that it can do what it used to do, but do it better. On the other hand, there's a lot of talk about how AI could be helpful potentially with equipment that's positioned in a place that it's collecting data and it's helping users on the go. So the best example of that is probably Intuitive Surgical. The healthcare sector and the equipment and device space is not averse to new technology. It actually thrives on it. When you have a better way of doing things, it gives you an excuse to go and argue that you should use my product and that you should pay me for it because I'm going to create value.
Who makes or is at the leading edge of making the technology improvements? Is it small niche players or long-held incumbents?
The smallest players are usually the most nimble, and they're usually less risk averse. The biggest incumbents, the biggest players that we talked about, for example, earlier, that may have a product portfolio, they're often monitoring these changes. They're monitoring the technological change, one, as a threat to their own incumbency, but two, as an opportunity. So you have this ecosystem of the innovative, smaller focused players and the larger, more risk-averse players. And at some point, they will overlap.
If I think about strategic M&A by those product portfolio type companies, what are the kind of criteria that they use for what they'll actually go in and acquire?
At the end of the day, it's a source of competition when it comes to buying a company. And they're layering in revenue synergies, cost synergies, as well as their own needs for timing, for valuation, for whatever's going on inside their own companies. We can't predict exactly who or what or when an event like that might happen. And our investment thesis is definitely not predicated on that, but there is this overlap. We're looking for companies that have durable earnings growth. That's where it comes down to. And those companies that may be buying it are typically looking for the same thing.
Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Tim.